We are now halfway through the fantasy football season. It is week 8 trade targets. We have 6 players plus some reissues and some honorable mentions that we are going out and buying. A couple guys that we're selling. Quick reissue. Baltimore Ravens players, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, still very good buys. Nico Collins, we talked about last week, suffered a concussion. Very good buy if you're in a good winning position. And also guys that we talked about in weeks past, you might not be able to buy anymore because we talked about Jahmyr Gibbs, Judkins, T. Higgins, Travis Hunter. All of those guys, the buying windows might be closed on. Danny, do you have any other honorable mention buys, or should we get into the first one?
Yeah, and spoiler alert, one of those guys you just mentioned, a.k.a. Quinshon Judkins, may or may not be a member of Team Lad by the time you see the trade video that comes out later today.
Yeah, we did have some action in the Flock League this week, and let's just say Danny wasn't the only one who made a trade this week. So we got a couple of trades that we have to talk about, and you guys will see that on the next Flock League vlog here. But let's get into the first guy.
Yeah, my first trade target is Garrett Wilson, wide receiver of the New York Jets. And he's a trade target if the expectation in your league is, he's wide receiver 18, 19, 20. Maybe somebody downgraded him after he got hurt. Maybe someone's a little pessimistic. He's dealing with the PCL strain. And of course, we do have a little bit of quarterback turnover in the New York Jets with Justin Fields getting benched. And I mean, we have the reports from Woody Johnson literally saying like, yeah, if you had a quarterback that can complete a pass, maybe you'd win more games. Like, the vibes with Justin Fields and the Jets are down right now. So check in on the Garrett Wilson owner, because before Garrett Wilson got hurt, he was on track for a legitimate, 18, 19 points per game a year. I mean, he was literally averaging 19 points per game when he was healthy this season. By all accounts, it does sound like he's probably going to miss week 8. They do have the week 9 bye. He will be back in week 10. And if you're a team that is in a position, maybe you're the first seed, the second seed, the third seed in your league, maybe you're in a position where you're maybe 4-3, 5-2, and you are top 4 in points for Garrett Wilson, if you can get his potential top 12 to 15 production for about wide receiver 20 level price tags, you got to do your due diligence, because I did allude to the fact that I traded for Quinshon Judkins at the top of this video, but I actually had a trade that almost went down prior to that. That would have been Rome Odunze, Jalen Warren, and Bam Knight for Quinshon Judkins and Garrett Wilson. And to me, if I was able to get that done, definitely would have preferred it overall versus what I ended up doing. But with that being said, I mean, with Garrett Wilson, if you can get him, like I said, back in wide receiver 2 price tags, he's proven this year, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, he can produce.
Yeah, exactly. If you're getting him for some of the deals that you guys can see on the screen right now, like Michael Pittman, DeAndre Swift for Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, that's a good sell high on some guys that are producing right now. Marvin Harrison plus Rico Dowdle for Garrett Wilson, to me, makes a lot of sense. Any kind of 2-for-1 that you can do, a Golden plus Tucker Kraft, that type of thing. Yeah, this is a dude that I expect to be, once he's healthy, which he's not currently right now. So that's a risk that you're undertaking, which is why he's more back-end wide receiver 2 price tag than he would be high-end wide receiver 2, even low-end wide receiver 1 price tags, given how he's produced right now. He has produced like a low-end wide receiver 1. So that is the upside here. If you can get him for back-end wide receiver 2 types, plus bench pieces, Bam Knight plus Michael Pittman or something like that, you have to be sending out offers for Garrett Wilson if you're in a winning position. If you have 4 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins on your fantasy roster, you're in position to take a risk like that to improve your starting lineup. This is when, and like overall trade strategy, this whole video pretty much this is the time of year when you look to upgrade your starting lineup. You know what you have in your starters. You know what you have in your depth pieces for the most part, and you can use some of those depth pieces plus a starter to upgrade a starter.
Yeah, and I mean, as well as Fab as well. I know in this time of year, maybe the Evans owner, the Nico Collins owner, like a lot of injuries are piling up to the point where those depth pieces for some people in their minds becomes more valuable than, say, if you were offering it in week 4 when their whole team is running.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, people have plenty of fab at the beginning of the season. There's tons of people in our leagues, for example, that don't have any fab left, and that's something that definitely can be used in a trade here. One guy that I think is a pretty good buy low right now, and some of my favorite buy lows just in general are even in sharp leagues, the people are worried about them. And that's why I think Travis Etienne is a good buy low right now, because I think casuals will be worried about him and sharps will be worried about him right now. And there's real legitimate concern that Byshell Tootin took a larger snap share last week than he has all season long. But here's why I'm not as worried about Travis Etienne as maybe the manager is, or Danny might counter on me right now. Chiefs, Seahawks, Rams, the last 3 games, 3 of the best run defenses in football, second hardest schedule over the last 3 games to fantasy running backs. He's on bye this week. The Raiders, Texans, Chargers, Cardinals, and Titans are his next 5 games. That is a top 6 easiest running back stretch over the next 5 weeks after the bye. So for me, I look at Travis Etienne and I see a guy that has 15 plus carries, a couple of targets every single week, And this is a dude that I don't think his role is going to change all that much. I think maybe Tootin is more involved. Maybe that's something that you factor in. I did move him down my rankings, but I still think he is a good buy low nonetheless, because this is an early down ball carrier in a good rushing scheme that hopefully will have some offensive improvements. Because I think that's partially why I'm buying into him as well, is I think after the bye, if Brian Thomas is healthy, Travis Hunter will be more involved. Maybe Trevor Lawrence plays a little bit better. And Travis Etienne's role to me remains basically unchanged. So I am going after Travis Etienne with the expectation that you can buy him for low-end running back 2 price tags, and you're getting probably more of a mid RB2 with some upside if the offense gets better.
Yeah, I just don't see a mid RB2, quite frankly. I do think that Bajal Tootin is a big factor. I do think as well that, what is the one thing we say about rookies every single year?
I think that's true when you were a highly decorated rookie who had a big profile and you're playing at a super high level. I don't think Tootin has proven that he's the type of rookie that would take a big share down the stretch.
Well, in terms of yards after contact per attempt, in terms of overall success rate as a rusher, he actually has been very good. And we did hear the report from Liam Cohen that they will try to get the best 11 out there as much as they can. I just think after the bye week, there is much more of a risk of Bajal Tootin making this at least a 40% level committee than maybe you're letting on, in my opinion. I don't disagree in premise. Like, if you can get Etienne for back-end RB2 prices, you need a running back to be able to get your production right away. I don't mind the premise. It's just expecting anything more, in my opinion, than what you're paying RB20, RB21 level price tags. I just don't really see him being the RB15 or RB16 moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess my opinion on Tootin is that he's more so going to make Keenan Allen never on the field, as opposed to take away a lot of snaps from Travis Etienne. Because in the matchups that I listed that Travis has coming up, a lot of those games are game environments. The Raiders, for example, the first one that they play is a game environment I expect the Jaguars to win. And I expect the early down ball carrier, which is Travis Etienne, to be the guy that gets the majority of the work on the ground and that kind of thing. So part of me is just betting on Etienne to continue. He's also not playing very well, and I think he's a better player than what he's shown the last couple of games.
Well, I think that's part of it for me too. It's like the glass half full versus the glass half empty. You're saying he's not playing well. You're just hoping he plays better. For me, it's like he's not playing well, so he's more of a risk of losing work. That's my view on it.
Yeah. No, and those are definitely fair. Every one of my trade targets in this video are non-elite assets. There are more guys that are going to be upgrades to your flex and whatnot. Like the guys that you're talking about are a lot more like upgrade your starting lineup kind of guys. But I do think in deeper leagues, guys like Travis Etienne will have more value going forward than what they currently have. Let's get into a guy that you have as definitely a starting lineup upgrade, a guy that you're looking to potentially double tier into and go get, a stud. And that's James Cook, because James Cook before the bye, what do you have? 4 fantasy points against the Patriots and like barely any in the week before that against the Falcons. Keep in mind those are 2 hard matchups, but James Cook was on a tear before that.
Vice versa. He played the Falcons right before the bye. He played New England 2 weeks ago. But regardless, even when you look at the context of that, New England and Atlanta have quietly been 2 of the best defenses in the league so far this year. So shout out to New England, shout out to Atlanta. But coming up, we do have Carolina. Again, Carolina has been a lot better against the run. I have noted that before. But with James Cook, as we know, given how the Bills' offensive line usually plays, given the overall elusiveness, the ability to break big plays, he's a threat. On top of that, I mean, what is Buffalo implied for here? Buffalo's probably a 7-point road favorite.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But to your point about the Patriots, they're actually the second lowest amount of rushing yards per game allowed to running backs, and the Falcons are not far behind them. So, yeah, those were 2 very, very difficult matchups, and especially when you factor in, too, that guys around James Cook.
7.5.
Yeah, guys that are around James Cook have maybe gained some value. So maybe people are knocking him down the rankings for that. Like you think of maybe people prefer Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, potentially Javonte Williams even. Like there's guys that are producing around James Cook's territory that I think you could probably get James Cook for low-end RB1 price tags right now. And I don't think it's out of the range of outcomes that he does continue to put up, first-round value fantasy player type of production for the rest of the year.
Like, how much on top of Kyron do you have to pay right now? How much on top of
Cam Scatterbo?
Cam Scatterbo's a great shout there.
Even Judkins too. Like as much as I like Judkins still, I think getting Judkins plus a small piece to get to James Cook is a very smart move.
This sounds disgusting. And if you're like us, if you follow us, if you've been a subscriber of Fantasy Stock Exchange, you'll know this is a disgusting offer if somebody send it to your inbox. But how many leagues, if you had DeAndre Swift, sounds disgusting, DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen, and you offered it for James Cook right now, how many leagues would you get that accepted in?
I think you probably would get it accepted in a lot of leagues. And like some of the deals you guys can see on the screen there, like tearing down from Justin Jefferson to get James Cook and Chris Olave, I think that's a pretty solid move. Saquon Barkley and Marvin for James Cook and Terry McLaurin. Again, that's probably a little bit more fair. This one where you're tearing down from CeeDee Lamb to get Garrett and James Cook, I think is pretty fair. Like the best example of what you should be looking to do is the first deal there, James Cook for Alvin Kamara and Wan'Dale Robinson, or somebody in Alvin Kamara's territory, plus a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson. Those deals make the most sense. We've been talking about those deals for 6 years now, 2-for-1 tier ups to go get elite assets. James Cook is still an elite asset, a guy that you absolutely want to watch every Sunday run the football for the Buffalo Bills, because this team is that good, and they had 2 bad games against 2 really good defenses, and I'm not worried about their offense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty much on the same page there. We love James Cook. We still view him as, a top 7, top 8 level running back this season. He is my top 7 or my RB7 in my top 12 of my rankings. And I mean, 17.4 points per game, and you're still attached to top 3 to 5 offense in the league.
Yeah, exactly. So Danny, with the trade targets for sure, more of the you have depth, move them for starter upgrades. This deal, similar to the Etienne one, is one guy. Go ahead. Sorry.
One more real quick. If you guys want the example of the inverse, where if you're looking, okay, if I have an elite asset, maybe you have a Jonathan Taylor, and maybe you're right, okay, he's at his peak right now. What plus James Cook can you get? I was actually talking with Brock in our listening league. Keep in mind, this is a tight end premium, 1.0 tight end premium. We were talking on the premise of like a James Cook plus Brock Bowers for Jonathan Taylor. If you were to make a tier down, I think that would be the idea to be able to use.
Yeah, you can definitely make those kind of moves, especially if you have lots of injuries. I'm sure a lot of people do, given how many injuries we've had in fantasy. If you have lots of injuries and you're looking for a guy to go after that isn't worth a lot now, but could be an every week starter for you, I think Chris Godwin is, I guess, technically a buy high given the Mike Evans injury, because he is going to be out pretty much for the rest of the fantasy football season. I think at best, the Buccaneers will get him back close to the NFL playoffs. Chris Godwin, right? Going back to last year, we know what Chris Godwin was, right? He was a dude that legitimately was only worse than Jamar Chase when healthy in terms of points per game. Last year, he got injured and suffered a major dislocation of his ankle. I would expect he will not be usable until week 10 after the Buccaneers bye. He's probably going to be out against the Saints this week, and he has a bye in week 9. But if you're in a situation where you can get by, you picked up Tez Johnson, you picked up a guy that you can use in the short term, and you're looking for some late season PPR flex upside, Chris Godwin in 2022 came back too early from an ACL tear. We were at that game, Dallas and Tampa Bay. He was not himself. He got shut down for a couple of weeks after that game. And then in week 4 on a Buccaneers team that was bad, that was terrible, that won 8 games, and Tom Brady was washed that season, Chris Godwin averaged 16 PPR points per game with Mike Evans on the field the entire season. So I think we're talking about a dude without Mike Evans out there, and Emeka Egbuka is great, obviously, but Chris Godwin in that PPR slot receiver type of role could have a resurgence after the bye, and you can get him for nothing right now, for absolutely nothing. He's on waiver wires in 35+% of leagues. If you tack him onto a deal, you pick him up. In this deal, you sold Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for Pacheco and Godwin. Again, if you wanted to do something like that, I think that's fine. This deal, the Rome Odunze and Josh Allen deal, you're going up and getting Rashee Rice potentially. Jahmyr Gibbs was acquired for Judkins and Pickens. Like, I would do that straight up for Jahmyr Gibbs, but just getting Godwin tacked on as a good throw into that deal, those are the types of ways I would buy on Chris Godwin, because without Mike Evans on the field, Emeka Egbuka cannot do everything.
Well, 100%. And we've seen that despite the injuries, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing offense, outside of course, the Lions game where it kind of, Baker wasn't playing like himself, a lot of ding and dunk. Like, there was just a lot that kind of got overwhelmed for Tampa in that game. But as we know, 95% of the time, Tampa Bay's offense is going to run as is. And Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin are the clear top 2 targets on this team with Mike Evans out.
Yeah, not to mention by week 10, when Godwin is probably back on the field, because again, I don't expect him to play this week against the Saints.
Yeah.
Luka Decky will be back, our right tackle, who is a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. Will just be healthier in general, like guys like Egbuka who are banged up, guys like, Mayfield's been playing through like a biceps injury and stuff. Like, the team is getting a much needed bye week in week 9. Let's just put it that way. And Godwin could have a really, really strong second half of the season, hopefully fully healthy, because I do think he was rushed back to some degree. I think they should have shelved him like Ayuk is being shelved right now in San Francisco, and then brought him back when he was 100% fully healthy and ready to go. So Godwin, zero risk, high reward type of pickup, in my opinion, right now. Tack him onto the end of a deal, get him picked up, and he'll probably give you something. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be, I'm not expecting what he did last year before his injury, but if he gives you 15 points per game from week 10 onward, you'd be very, very happy with that.
Yeah, and even if you don't even get up to 15 points per game, like Godwin right now is being treated like a high-end wide receiver 4, low-end wide receiver 3. At that price tag, at that risk point, especially knowing the context that he probably only fits about 6 to 7 teams in your league, knowing that a lot of people aren't going to want to buy in on an older wide receiver coming off a significant injury. Like if you can get him for a wide receiver 38, wide receiver 36 level price tag, knowing that you can potentially get a top 30 level wide receiver, even that alone is worth a gamble.
Yeah, I think you'd be able to trade Wan'Dale Robinson for him and not even think, like it'd be very easy to trade Wan'Dale for him, Jameson Williams for him, Romeo Doubs for Godwin, plus like you'd probably get 30 fab on top of Godwin for Romeo Doubs right now. Like this is
be able to trade Bam Knight for him at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he costs you nothing. It's a free upside swing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I am in on the Godwin train. We'll head on to the next stud of the video. Like we said, you're kind of more on the depth guys. I'm going to talk you guys through the studs. The stud that you have to buy now, or else you're probably never going to have an opportunity to buy him again this season, is Brock Bowers. Very simple. He's dealing with a knee injury right now. The Raiders, of course, do have their bye coming up. He is expected. It's this week, correct? Yeah, the Raiders do have their bye this week. He is expected to be back as soon as the bye is done. And as we know with Brock Bowers, the one healthy week that we saw him this year, 31% targets per out run, 24% target share, tight end 2 in fantasy that week at 15.3 points per game. Pretty simple. We're drafting this guy as a clear top 2 option coming into the year. He's a top 24 level pick, and you could probably get him for about a tight end 6 level price tag right now.
Yeah, and I'm like just generally a little worried that he won't have, like, this might just end up looking like a lost season for him. He won't have the same upside that he had coming into the season. I don't think you're arguing he has the same upside that he had coming into the season, but
can he get to 15 points per game like he showed in week 1? Like I'm not saying he's going to get the 18, which was the ceiling thesis coming into the year.
Yeah, the tough thing, I guess, the only thing I would push back on is that he does play the Jaguars, Broncos, Browns, Chargers, Broncos again, Eagles, Texans. 6 of his last 8 games. He has the Cowboys and Giants, 2 of those games, which are easy defenses, but his schedule in the whole, because like you got to think with the Raiders, they're a bad team. They have a bad quarterback, bad offensive line, don't score a lot of points. So they kind of need easy cake matchups for the passing offense to look functional. So while I think that in principle, if you can get Brock Bowers for like tight end 6 or less on the open market, that's probably a good idea. I'm a little bit concerned that he might not even get to 15 points per game.
You know what I'll counter with?
What's that?
Ready? Their top 2 wide receivers are Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. They need him.
Yeah, they do need him. And, Genty maybe gets better as the season goes along. And Myers isn't even, like, Myers might get traded, first of all, which would probably help Bowers' target share, but hurt the offense overall. I guess part of me, too, is like, as disgusting as this sounds as of like a reason to not trade for somebody, I do not want to watch the Las Vegas Raiders on Sundays. I just don't want to do it. I would rather watch paint dry than watch Geno Smith drop back and fucking try and throw the football to people on that team.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're irrational for that.
Yeah, I think that this is a team destined for a top 3 to 5 draft pick. So I just don't really want to buy into their team. But obviously, Bowers is a stud. And even if they get a top 3 to 5 draft pick, he could still end up having like a 15+ point per game tight end season and just luck box PPR his way into it.
And that's really the point here is like, if he is fully healthy, you're figuring a tight end that has 8+ target per game type of upside, potentially 9, 10 target per game type of upside. You did mention that the Raiders are a bad team. Yes, they are a bad team. They're going to be behind 10 points. They're going to be behind 17 points. They're going to be behind 20 points. We can talk about, neutral pass script all we want. The Raiders aren't going to be in neutral scripts.
That's a good point. Neutral pass rate gets overlooked when you're losing every single week.
Yeah. For sure. So who is your third player here, Corey?
Yeah, and I won't spoil anything because it hasn't come out yet. But Kenneth Walker to me is a really, really good trade target right now. And here's my rationale for trading for Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is pretty much at an all-time low currently on the open market. He has 3 straight games of 9.6, 4.7, 6.6 fantasy points. In games that Zach Charbonnet has been healthy, this is like a sub 8 to 10 fantasy point per game producer. Like, this is a bad running back who's killed you every single week in your lineup. And the person who has Kenneth Walker is probably sick of him, probably sick of watching Zach Charbonnet score 2 touchdowns like he scored on Monday Night Football. But Kenneth Walker, my thought process of why I think he's a good buy low candidate right now is this is low. This is buying low on a player that has a lot of upside still, is producing, when he gets touches, is currently the 6th highest graded running back by PFF. And Danny, what do we talk about for Travis Hunter? What do we talk about for Romo Dunze? What do we talk about for all these teams that go on their bye? What do coaches do when they're on bye? They go and look at the tape and think about what's working and what's not working. Well, Charbonnet works in the red zone. He's been fine in the red zone. He's been able to punch in touchdowns. The 6th graded running back on PFF right now is not getting enough carries, is not getting enough volume. And now I sound like the copium guy on Kenneth Walker because it's been you all season saying shit like this. But I think that it's possible that turns around after the bye. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed. But you can get this guy for probably RB3 price tags right now.
Hey, but when I was saying it for the last 4 weeks, Corey, you were staunching your nose at me. You were saying you're only saying this because you have Kenneth Walker, and then the second that you get Kenneth Walker, you start saying the same thing.
I'm not saying why did I trade? If I didn't trade for Kenneth Walker, I didn't believe this. Obviously, I would have just let you have him if I wasn't saying, hey, I'm gonna just let this guy rot on your roster. My thought process of why I would trade for this guy is that he's still a low end RB2 in my rankings. And he is not valued as a low-end RB2 on the open market.
No, I know what you mean. It's just funny thinking about it because I'm like, oh, when I was saying this, you were like, oh, you're crazy, you're coping. But like now it's like the consensus.
Yeah, I'm looking among the experts and where he's ranked. I'm still one of the lowest experts on him. So it's not that I'm like super high. I'm RB25 rest of the season. Like he's not a super high-end asset for me by any means.
Yeah, he's 23 for me. And hey, every other channel does this. So we will spoil it because it's between us. Fuck the haters. So the deal that we made, Corey has Lamar Jackson coming back. I had Caleb Williams drop 5 points in my starting lineup last week. So what did I do? I have CeeDee Lamb. You had Dak Prescott expendable. We ended up negotiating. Basically, you would upgrade from Pacheco to Walker, give me Dak, and I sent you Caleb Williams and a few bucks back.
Yeah. That's basically what we ended up doing. And again, I need the upside at running back because I have Vidal in the short term. Pacheco wasn't a whole lot of upside in the long term. So that's why we ended up making the deal. But yeah, Kenneth Walker, am I saying he's guaranteed going to be better after the bye? No, it could be very much more of the same. It's a risk that I took, especially giving up a guy who's like legitimately a difference-making quarterback in fantasy right now. However, I have Lamar Jackson, so it doesn't really matter for the like. I was never going to start Dak Prescott as long as Lamar Jackson was healthy, so it was worth the risk in my opinion. I have some real upside, and I did draft Kenneth Walker, so I did believe in him preseason. It's not like I was totally out on this guy the entire time. I'm just hoping that Mike McDonald looks inside himself a little bit. And here's the thing: even if he's in a 50-50 committee all year, it's a really good team. It's a really good offense.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously he's not going to make the video because I don't want to talk about quote unquote buying Isaiah Pacheco, but it did help me like make the move knowing that Kareem Hunt got banged up and we did see Isaiah Pacheco get a couple goal line carries. That was part of the rationale for me.
And as someone who's been on the Pacheco train all offseason and into the season, I've been the only person who still believes in the guy to some degree. It does hurt kind of giving him up the second he's shown some signs of life and he's finally at least like a high-end RB3. Like there wasn't much of a difference between Kenneth Walker and Pacheco in my ranks. I have Pacheco 31, I have Walker at 25. Like they're not that far off.
Yeah, I was just shocked when I saw the expert consensus has him like on 100 overall. I'm like, I get Isaiah Pacheco's bad, but even a high-end RB3 is probably like a top 80, 85 player.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where he was ranked for me. So, So that is the deal that we ended up making. Again, we spoiled it. If you guys made it to this point in the video, you could obviously go back and look at some of the negotiations we have. Let's pivot into the sells here, Danny, because there are some guys every week. There's guys that are RB2s and 3s and running back 3s and 4s. And wide receiver 4s that pop off and they're just good sell highs. They're obvious sell highs. Guys like a Romeo Doubs come to mind. When he has a 3 touchdown game in the last couple of weeks and he's been pretty solid, you could probably sell him in a tier up package, specifically for the guys that you talked about in this video, the Bowers, the James Cooks, the Garrett Wilsons of the world. DeAndre Swift to me stands out as probably the best sell high in all of fantasy right now. And not because I don't think DeAndre Swift is like a top 24 running back rest of the season. I would actually prefer him to Kenneth Walker. I think he's a better option than Kenneth Walker rest of the season.
Even I would. And you guys know my thoughts on DeAndre Swift. I got to give credit where credit's due. He's scored 45 points in the last 2 weeks. I can't just say he's the RB 34 rest of the season.
That being said, he's the RB 13 over the last 3 games. He is the RB 6 in back-to-back weeks. Do we think DeAndre Swift is going to do that all the time? No. Do I think the Bears have a better run-blocking offensive line now? Do I think the Bears can run the football better than they did pre-bye? Absolutely. But is Kyle Menengai also a decent running back? Yeah. And he's factoring into the backfield.
Bingo. As much as I like DeAndre Swift and what he's doing right now, if the option is I could have gotten Kyle Monangai off my waivers for $20 or trade, a top 24 level asset for DeAndre Swift, I know which route I'm going. With Monangai, like he is the David Montgomery potentially of this offense. Like it's pretty clear based off how they were being used interchangeably in this game, the power back role that Kyle Monangai was showing, the success he had between the tackles. I think that was the big thing for me is we both thought, okay, Monangai a little bit more of a plotter coming out of the draft. How realistically big is he going to be in this offense? But he's quietly averaging like 4.6 yards per carry this year.
Yeah, no, he's been really solid this season. And you and I, our rankings reflect DeAndre Swift being a sell high because I have him at 63. You have him at 57. Every other expert on the site has him in their top 50. And he's in Avery's top 36 assets right now. So I can't get there with DeAndre Swift, man. Like if you can make a move like this one, DeAndre Swift plus Michael Pittman to go get Garrett Wilson and Deebo Samuel, that's a great move. If you can take DeAndre Swift and sell him straight up for Ladd McConkey, that's a great move. If you can take DeAndre Swift and if you're 6-1 or something, go buy Amari and Hampton and get Stephon Diggs attached just as a throw-in so you can use him in your flex if Swift was one of your flexes, that's a great move as well. So as great as DeAndre Swift has been coming out of the bye, I don't buy it. I don't think he's going to be more than like a mid to low end RB2 at best the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. If you can sell at that type of price, I mean, we mentioned Garrett Wilson earlier in the video. We do see him in a deal here. I do think in a lot of leagues right now, especially if that team's 2-5, 3-4, maybe low in points scored, maybe had a Mike Evans or a Nico Collins, and you came knocking on the door and you said, hey, I will take Garrett Wilson off your hands and I will give you this running back who scored 20 plus in each of the last 2 weeks for an ascending offense. I bet you the majority of the league mates in your league would take that deal.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And Swift has another couple easy matchups coming up pretty soon. Like he has the Ravens defense this week, which has been just bad in general. But they've been specifically bad against running backs. And then he has the Bengals defense the week after that. So the one thing I would say about DeAndre Swift is maybe if you're not getting the offers that you want, maybe hold him for another game or two, and then you'll get better offers because after that, he has the Vikings in week 11, the Steelers in week 12, the Eagles in week 13, the Packers in week 14, the Browns in week 15, the Packers again in week 16, and the 49ers in week 17. So his schedule is peak really up until like about week 10. So if you can sell him now, high-end RB2 type of price tags, because I think you'll get it in some leagues, definitely go out and do that. But if you want to hold him for another game or two, then I wouldn't blame you because he's got 2 more good matchups.
Yeah, no, I agree there. We can head on to these final 2 sells. I'll keep it very brief with this one. Keenan Allen, he hasn't had a single game with running over 80% of the routes this year. On top of that, he's coming off a week where he was the wide receiver 6, scored 23.4 points. That is all great. People are going to look at that, think, wow, the Chargers offense so back to throwing the football across the yard. But let's not forget the 3 weeks prior, he was wide receiver 47, wide receiver 42, and wide receiver 53. We know what Keenan Allen is. Again, he will have these weeks. This is too good of a passing offense for him to not have a couple touchdowns, for him to not have good yards because Herbert's playing well enough to be able to support it. But if you have the window to be able to sell Keenan Allen as a top 25 to 30 level wide receiver, which is about what I think you can get for him, you have to do your due diligence because this is what he's going to be. You don't know when the 20-point weeks are going to come, and you don't know when he's going to fall on his face because there is real target competition in LA. We do have the emergence of Rondé Gadsden. We have Ladd McConkey getting 15 targets in this game. QJ in his first game back scores a touchdown. I just think this is going to be the story of his season.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of reckless of you to assume that he's going to keep doing this if you have Keenan Allen on your roster. As the season goes along, a guy like Keenan Allen, who's 33 years old or whatever, is only going to get more banged up, less effective. You got to sell him when he's producing. And also, too, like if the Chargers continue to suffer injuries and get out of the mix and stuff, he's a progress stopper. They might start playing him less snaps as well because you want to see what Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and Rondé Gadsden, the future of your offense can do. And yeah, even Trey Harris, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, they said some good things about him, and as we know, he could play a little bit more on outside. If he's starting to take some more outside snaps, and we see Ladd McConkey make more of that transition 11 personnel to play in the slot, that's just going to be less snaps for Keenan Allen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I don't disagree with that. We've talked about Keenan Allen as a buy and or a sell in a couple of different trade targets so far this year, and it just makes sense. He's healthy right now, and he's old, and he's a big name. Like it's easy to sell a guy like Keenan Allen when everybody in their mother has probably had him win a fantasy championship in the last 10 years that he's been in the league. I think this one's going to be a little controversial. I think Jordan Addison's not a bad sell high right now. And it's not because I don't think Jordan Addison's a good player. And I mean, he's producing 17.4 PPR points per game since he got back, coming off a top 12 week, been over 15 in every single game this year. This is all I have to say as why I'm selling Jordan Addison. I think JJ McCarthy fucking sucks. And I think that once JJ McCarthy is back on the field, which will be soon, I think that this offense is going to take a haircut. Everybody, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, the run game. This is going to be a team that has a bad quarterback playing for them, and it's going to kill you in your starting lineup. And not to mention, too, just the archetype of receiver Jordan Addison is. Do I expect him to have 15 fantasy points every game or more? No, because he is a little bit more of boomer bust, big play type of guy. There's going to be games where he drops, 7 points or whatever, because like a Devontae Smith, like a Jalen Waddle, like a T. Higgins, like a Jamison Williams when he's playing well, there's still going to be games where he's inconsistent. So as great as Jordan Addison is playing and you feel good that you stashed him through his suspension, I think he's a really good option to use for a tier up.
I don't disagree in premise because, again, wide receiver 8, 17.4 points per game. You should do your due diligence and see if you can get even top 15, top 20 level price tags. I think given how he's been playing, you might even be able to get close to that. I will say, though, when you do look at the efficiency metrics across the board, this was a tweet actually from Ron, shout out. Yards per out run, he's top 14 in the league right now. First rate target share, wide receiver 18. Expected points per game, he's the wide receiver 19. Like, he is overperforming his expectation, but across the board, the metrics are pointing to a top 20 level wide receiver. So if the best offer is you're willing to get, if I'm looking at my rankings right now, wide receiver 24 equivalent would be like Deebo Samuel. I would take Jordan Addison over. Like, if you're getting offered like BTJ, Higgins, Devontae Smith, they're pretty lateral moves. Realistically, for me, if I'm going to sell them, I would probably need like an AJ Brown or a Ladd McConkey or a Tedoroy McMillan,
which I think you should be able to get pretty easily. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with Addison is like, I agree with you. Like, if you're getting wide receiver 2-3 kind of price tags, you probably can just be fine holding them, because the Vikings do have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the season. It's actually the easiest among any team for wide receivers.
Hawkinson sucks
specifically. Yeah, and Hawkinson stinks right now, and Jefferson's not playing completely like Jefferson either. But I don't want to be there when JJ McCarthy's starting games. That's it. It's a personal take of mine, using my eyeballs, going back to his college tape and going into his first 2 NFL games. I think the kid can't play. And I think that they have to start him. They can't like play him 2 games and then play Carson Wentz again. They have to give him experience.
I plead the 5th.
Yeah, you plead the 5th on that one, because we know as a Michigan fan, you want him to be good, but he might just not be.
Go blue.
Yeah, so that is the trade targets video for the day. Gave you some spoilers and some Easter eggs for the Flock League vlog, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Leave a like on this video if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you have any trades you want to drop in the comments, we'll try and answer as many as we can. Our trade calculator, of course, is free to use if you guys use promo code FSE at sign up. On flockfantasy.com, you do get a 7-day free trial. You can use the expert average to make some trades. It is fully customizable. You can get different answers based on your league settings. If you're in a start 7-10 team league, it's going to value those Brock Bowers and those Garrett Wilson like hammers a lot better. If you're in a start 9, 12 team or 14 team league, then the guys that I talked about, the Garrett Wilson or the Chris Godwin, the Travis Etienne, and the Kenneth Walker types are going to be a little bit more valuable in those formats. So check out the trade calculator. If you guys are making trades, check out the trade finder, which is where we got all the trades from this video as well. You can kind of search what kind of price tags are going for certain players in certain leagues, which is also a helpful resource. Same with the My Teams feature. You can see who's weakest at wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback among your league mates. And check out all that stuff if you guys are interested. But with that being said, peace out. We'll talk to you soon.